Welcome to episode 11 of the Leaders Lifestyle podcast. And as you can see from the name, there's in the H is highlighted yellow, the E and A and L as well. And what that stands for is heal as well. There's a lot of healing that's needed right now in the world. You know, there's too much unnecessary suffering. And why is this particularly important to me right now? Is because back in, for those that know me as a coach, you know that I'm run a mastermind with JPDV Mental Performance with Jean-Pierre de Villiers and also Matt Grady. And some of you might know me as a terminal cancer survivor who went on to complete a full distance Ironman 6 years after I was considered terminally ill with 6 months to live. And the journey has been a really interesting one. I'm at a really interesting junction, and I called this episode Terminal Cancer Breakthrough because my intention for June was a breakthrough of some description, because I was feeling stuck. I was feeling like I needed to break through to my next level of existence, because the one I was living meant that I had the leukemia that came back with a vengeance in October. And so just to take you on a trip down memory lane, I completed my Ironman on the 14th of August, 2022, which was, nearly 10 months ago now. And it was an epic event. I did it well. I finished with energy in the bank, so to speak. I kind of cruised over to the finish line in 14 hours 10. And a lot of people that know me ask the question, did the Ironman contribute to your relapse? And the answer is yes, it did. It wasn't the only contributory factor, because when it comes to illness, there are, inflammation is the root cause of a lot of immune senescence, which is where our immune systems become old. And so when I was diagnosed with leukemia, had I tested my biological age versus my chronological age, I would have found that my biological age was a lot greater because of the level of stress I was experiencing in my life that I put up with. Like like stress is a conscious choice sometimes. And anyway, so last year I had the Ironman. I was training for the Ironman. I'd sold my shares in a fitness business. And so, in fairness, the cash did not carry us through that long, maybe 5 or 6 months. And the Ironman cost a lot of money. So there was a lot of financial pressure, because the last 7 years, since I claimed my life insurance, that pot has been dwindling. I've invested over 400,000. So there's a big financial component to the stress I was experiencing, but I was determined to get the Ironman done. And coupled with that, I had a legal case that could have cost us, half of what we had left. And what we have is my life insurance. I don't have any other life insurance. And what we have left as a family is what we considered our level of, I stopped going to America back in 2018 because I didn't want to invest any more money in my healing. And I thought my healing journey was a lot to do with the psychological and emotional and spiritual work I was doing, not necessarily the treatment. So anyway, this major relapse happened in the October. Luckily last year, the legal case was brought to a close, which was stressful because I had to find, over £50,000 to pay the legal bill, plus the fees, which was another 20 odd grand in that year as well. So financially, there was a lot of pressure that I put on myself, because, you see my wording is very, very important, because, to some degree, I have to take ownership and responsibility for this. So yes, the wheels fell off in October when I did my interview with my oncologist, which I will share in the next couple of weeks. I thought it was going to be difficult for me to listen to, given it was the day before I had the relapse. But in fairness, it's a nice energy conversation. So I'm really intrigued to go back and listen to all of it and then share that on the Leaders Lifestyle podcast. So as I navigate into Christmas and the original medication wasn't working, I had to go onto a second medication, which was ponatinib, which is targeted. So with a lot of cancers now, there are targeted therapies that help slow down the proliferation of the cancer. Might not necessarily remove it. So it's not a great long-term strategy. And I then layered in all the other lifestyle interventions and working with a nutritional therapist and, adding in a number of other supplements on my protocol, investing in a hyperbaric chamber for a period on a rental. And then I was able to start to, I had an all clear in March. So in June, I had another bone marrow biopsy scheduled in a consultation with my oncologist. And what hit me like a steam train was me having to go, I chose to go to the hospital on my own, because I knew it was going to be a challenging conversation, but I wasn't expecting my oncologist to recommend as a first choice to have a second stem cell transplant. And it slapped me in the face, it triggered a lot of trauma that clearly sits under the hood in my nervous system, in the imagination or the hallucination of me going back down memory lane, having what could have been a few months worth of chemotherapy, full body radiotherapy. So anyway, this particular stem cell transplant, I would have to go in for 5 days of chemotherapy. Then I'd be in isolation for 3 weeks whilst my sister's stem cells, subject to her health survey or health assessment, if she's a good to go person, then I would then consider having her stem cells as a new immune system. So my line of thinking is, how can I recover my existing immune system, which is my brother's, that has kept me going for the last 7 years and helped me do an Ironman? And for most of that, without any medication whatsoever. So luckily I have a team. So part of the inner game of high performance that I teach, shift one is to really have a clear vision. So for me, mine was to fully heal 2023, whatever that looks like, fully heal 2023. Second shift is to take decisive action. I'm great at that, and that's why I'm coming on here to share this, because I want to share the action and the decisions I'm going to take to break through this next level of existence, so I can then be fully healed forever. So I'll come back to that in a minute. So taking decisive action, once you have a clear vision, mission, and you understand your values. Anyway, so the third shift in winning the inner game of high performance is building a winning team. So I have a winning team. When I spend time with other individuals that are taking responsibility for their own health, whether that's from a longevity standpoint or a recovery standpoint, so going to the Health Optimization Summit last weekend was amazing to spend time with people that have, that believe in their own immune system, that believe in being able to engineer their health, their energy, vitality, to engineer how long they get to live and how vibrant that life is. Because as I said before, there is so much unnecessary suffering given the current systems that we've got in place that is contributing to that suffering. And so building a winning team, I have an oncologist in America who is a guy called Dr. Maharaj, who is amazing. And he specializes in immune regenerative medicine. So one of the things I've really lent into the last couple of weeks, having this breakthrough month, is really having this vision of creating a load of certainty around my health. So there are people that can have a spontaneous remission in a moment. Okay. So, a great story, Anita Moranjani dying to be me. She was in hospital and something in her consciousness shifted her immune system from illness to wellness. So despite the chemotherapy, the painkillers and everything else she was being pumped with, she managed to fully recover and walk out of hospital 6 weeks later. So that's always sat with me. And the last 6 months, she was on death's door and she could have shipped out of this lifetime. And what was really, for me, was always a question as to whether I needed to get to that point. And I have to say, maybe I should never have asked the question, because mentally, psychologically, I've been closer to death in the last 6 months or 9 months as I have ever before in my journey. Now, maybe call that denial, maybe call that stupidity, or maybe call that complete courage and certainty. So one of my breakthrough strategies from today is to have the energy of health. And so instead of thinking, whatever I go and do, whether it's trying to get IV therapy, and I'll come on to that in a minute, trying to deploy strategies that I have to invest money and time doing. If I invest in these strategies, what energy am I doing that from? Okay. Now, whatever you're doing in your endeavors in your life, in your self-leadership, is like, what energy are you doing that from? And so Matt Grady, who is an amazing coach and good friend of mine, he has, as a professional sports person, this mindset of playing to win. So that's really hammered home energetically in my system. Like my nervous system, which contributes to my ill health, is a consequence of my mindset, and Steve Green, another mentor, has an amazing level of certainty. And that's what, when I worked with him back in October last year, is like certainty and belief are the fundamental jigsaw pieces to achieving any result. So it doesn't necessarily matter what I choose to do. What matters is the energy I choose to do it with. So number one that I'm looking at is, what energy am I going to move forward with every day? So I've created a thing called the Power Life Script, and I'm reading that back to myself. I've shared it with a few people on my internal network as to what I'm envisioning is going to happen in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years of my life. And I'm playing that to myself. It's going to be like a 6 to 10 minute audio that I play to myself, that I repeat it to myself. And that helps cement the conviction, the certainty, and the courage that I'm going to move forward with my health optimization journey. Okay. So one of the things I invested in at the Health Optimization Summit was to determine what my chronological and biological age is. And I will record a podcast with the founder of that company, Nicolina Lautz, and I will share that podcast with you, where we can share some of the insights from what test results I've had. And my energy is that my immune system, or my chronological age, is in alignment with my biological age. And my job over the next couple of months is to reverse that. So if I choose to go back to America, not if I choose, I will be going back to America. It's a question of how and when that will manifest. I will be going back to America to work with my oncologist and complete the project that I'd started. So if we rewind to 2018, I'd invested another round of treatment, which is another 100,000, as I led up to my 40th birthday. I'd been away from the family for months and months and months and months, 26 weeks in total. And it had a real impact on my daughters. It had a real impact on Fiona. She was holding the fort as usual. And between the third and the fourth round, my natural killer cell function, one of the key markers was, it went up to 5. Our goal was to get it back to 16 to 39 range. We got up to 5, and then I went back about 6 or 8 weeks later for the fourth round. And the challenging thing was that it had dropped down to 3. So I was like, oh my God. So after 4 rounds of treatment, we've gone from 0 function all the way up to 3. And it got up to 5 and it had dropped again. So I was just like, oh my God. Now I know that the energy, it was just like, the energy I was going there with is, I'm going there to heal, as opposed to optimize. So therefore anyway, so that's a mindset shift I need to create in myself, is to what is the intention and energy I'm doing anything with moving forward. So the second piece of the jigsaw, okay, so was that it did go up to 9, but I didn't pay much attention to the last result before I came back, because I felt powerless with understanding how I could continue that treatment, because I didn't know how to generate the cash flow to continue to pay for it. So anyway, lesson number 1 that I've got on this for myself is my decision is I'm healthy today. I'm healthy and vibrant, and I'm moving forward with courage and conviction. The second intention that I want to put out there is that, I need to implement the foundational plan that my nutritional therapist has just sent me recently. So I need to get onto that plan. So that's the second thing I need to do in the next week, is implement that plan and continue to optimize my health and optimize my immune system. And the third piece of the jigsaw is then putting intention out there to have a hyperbaric chamber as part of my health optimization ecosystem. Again, this is an investment that I need to make at some point. And the other intention is then to optimize this health optimization plan with a round of IVs, which I just had a recent quote is like 14,000 pounds. So I'm looking for alternative strategies to deploy that. So I'm not out of options, but I am running on reserves when it comes to cash flow. We're in the process of selling a house, but as I said, there's this balance as to how much I will continue to invest out of what we have as a family, which is essentially their life insurance, and having the belief that I can generate the cash flow to continue this pursuit for great health. And I can inspire and educate and empower other people to take ownership and responsibility for their lifestyles too. So to combat that, I'm part of the JPDV Mastermind. It's a new start company, and we're at the very beginning of that journey, like 3 months in. We're making progress, but we're not making millions. So I am stepping back into my own podcast, my own brand, to secure keynote talks. I delivered the Inner Game of High Performance last week, and it was an amazing, it was the best keynote session I'd ever delivered. And within my website, and to support this podcast, is that on my website, I've got a shop, and you can click on the shop and you can go and purchase products that I love and we use in our house and recommend. I have a course that I've just released, which is called the Food Fundamentals course, 47 quid. And I'm going to continue to release different products and to help others. And I'm going to build a mastermind community, or not a mastermind community, the Leaders Lifestyle community, as part of my ecosystem to help anybody that's got questions, which then creates a bit of an income revenue stream for me as well. So that's the next piece of the jigsaw. There are lots of other things that I'm working on in the background. But essentially, if you just come to my website, have a look to see if there's any products that you could be interested in. There's coffee. There is amazing Fresh Life Sprouter. So if you go onto the website for the Sprouter, there's, and you click through, you will then, if you purchase anything like blenders or glass jars or juices or anything like that, then that supports my mission to continue to inspire and educate and empower others with their health journey. So go to my website, buy my course, and I will release some other stuff coming up very soon. And my intention is to go back to America. So Foundation 1 is live in the energy of health. Foundation 2 is implement the strategy that I've already paid for and purchase all the supplements, and then work on the cash flow that will allow me to further optimize my home ecosystem by way of hyperbaric chambers, inviting people. There's an immersive day. So if you had 10 of you that would like to come and spend the day with me, and I'll open up my kitchen and do a lunch and learn, and we'll do some ice bath, breath work, and saunas, and I'll bring in an amazing practitioner. There's a minimum fee of £2,500 for that. So 250 quid a head if you had 10 of you, and I can't fit any more than 10. So these are some of the strategies I'm deploying to combat to take advantage of the opportunity that I have right now to do this again. And I'm putting it out there is that next year I will do another triathlon. I just want to put the intention out there. I'm going to take my family up to the Lake District. We'll spend a good few days there, and I will do the rock event that's up there. So I get to train. This morning I've been in the lake and I swam for the first time since the Ironman in open water. I didn't have a wetsuit on. It was just gorgeous. So I went for a beautiful walk with my friend. So that's a bit of an update. My intention is not to have a second stem transplant. I get to rewrite my script from this point. I look like the healthiest terminal cancer patient out there. And I encourage you to support my mission. I encourage you to take some action. And I hope you liked listening to my Sunday solo podcast. If anybody's got any questions, my plan is to do a weekly solo cast and then also release a podcast of my I want to release a podcast with people in my power network that I am inspired by, that I really love. It's the Leader's Lifestyle. There's some amazing people I've met over the last couple of weeks, especially, but even before that, where I want to share their story. I've got an amazing podcast in the lineup with Dr. Maharaj talking about immune regenerative medicine. And part of my strategy is to have my healthy immune system harvested by Dr. Maharaj, because we have rebuilt my immune system as it is. So once I harvest my healthy immune system, my energy is to think big and feel big, and because I think what Maharaj is doing is exponential work. It's going to help change the face of medicine in the future in the way he approaches things. But with all politics and legalities around pharma and pharmacy and how these things work, is that they are currently relatively slow to wake up to what is in the pipeline in terms of the future of medicine. I heard there's some amazing information that I've heard, like they only put 3%, a small percentage of their total profits, into research and development, and they go out and buy these companies once they have tested and proved concepts. So there's a lot more money coming into immune regenerative medicine, and I've met somebody that's at the pioneering face of that new market of medicine, and it was a really inspirational conversation I had with him last week, and I will get him on my podcast and share his vision for the future of medicine. So I hope you've enjoyed this solo cast. If you've got any questions, please drop them in the comments below, and I'm going to go and finish my Soulful Sunday by going to start the process of emptying a property that we have to empty, ready for an exchange in a couple of weeks. So over and out from me. I hope you've enjoyed this, and have a beautiful day whenever you get to listen to this podcast. Bye-bye.